students, the tea time is the best time to think what you enjoy. So, today's topic is cyber laws in India, which is again an interesting topic in series of lectures on cyber security. Now, why this session is important today? You know, cyber law is not an act, it is a broader concept pointing out at all the means of controlling cyberspace. Cyber law talks about group of laws, IT being one of them. I would like to start the formal session with a famous quote by National Research Council USA. As per them, modern thief can steal much more with a computer than a gun. It is a grave, very deep thought, you must understand the meaning of it. Now, let us start the structure of discussion of today's session. Today, I will be talking about cyber law in IT Act 2000. I will be approaching first of all with meaning of cyber laws, the objective and features of IT Act 2000, how IT Act has been chapterized. Then I will be talking about meaning, use and working of digital signatures and authorities to issue digital signatures. And finally, we will be talking about adjudicating authorities, which include officers and cyber appellate tribunal, and then we will be concluding the topic. Let us come to the meaning part first. Cyber law is part of the overall legal system that deals with the internet, cyberspace and their respective legal issues. Cyber law covers a fairly broad area covering several subtopics including freedom of expression, access to and uses of the internet and online privacy. Generally, cyber law is referred to as the laws of internet. The cyber law is a generic term referring to all the legal and regulatory aspect of internet. Everything concerned with or related to or emanating from any legal aspect or concerning any activities of citizens in the cyberspace comes within the ambit of cyber laws. Now, what is IT Act 2000, how it emerged? It is again an interesting phenomenon. The Government of India realized the need for introduction of a new law and for making suitable amendments to the existing laws to facilitate e-commerce and give legal recognition to electronic records and digital signatures. The legal recognition to electronic records and digital signature in turn will facilitate the conclusion of contract and creation of legal rights and obligation through the electronic communication on internet. This basically will facilitate the e-governance, which is the objective of government. This also gave birth to the IT Bill in 1999. In May 2000, it was passed by Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, and finally on August 2000, President of India nodded and it became an act. Cyber laws are contained in IT Act 2000, which is again a broader concept. The Information Technology Act 2000 has tried to assimilate legal principles available in several such laws relating to IT enacted earlier in several other countries, as also various guidelines pertaining to IT law. The Act gives legal validity to electronic contract and recognition of electronic signatures. Now, my dear students, it is again important to understand what is the scope and objective. Until or unless we understand objective, we can never apply the law in the live situation. Now, what are the objectives? Let us see one by one. I have also depicted on the board in the form of table, so that you can have a bird's eye view. First objective is to grant legal recognition to all transactions done via electronic exchange of data, that is EDI, or other electronic means of communication or e-commerce in place of earlier paper based method of communication. My dear students, let me be very clear here. It won't replace manual system, it is at par with manual system. It is an addition to manual system, it won't replace it. Objective number 2 talks about give legal recognition to digital signature for the authentication of any information or matters requiring legal authentication. Third objective talks about facilitating the electronic filing of document with government agencies and also other departments. One of the example is filing annual income tax return, that is also a part of this. Objective number 4 talks about facilitating electronic storage of data. Objective number 5 talk about giving legal sanction and also facilitate the electronic transfer of funds between banks and financial institution, as you do bank transfer online through your internet banking account. Now, the sixth objective talk about granting legal recognition to Bankers and Evidence Act 1891, the RBI Act of India 1934 for keeping the books of account in electronic form. It is a great help to banking industry for paperless working. Now, as we are dealing with IT Act 2000, let us also see the features, which is also shown beautifully, so that you can remember it for the reference. Now, the first feature is all electronic contracts made through secure electronic channels are legally valid. The second feature is about legal recognition for digital signature. Third talks about security measures for electronic records and also digital signatures in place of manual one. The fourth feature talk about a procedure for appointment of adjudicating officer for holding inquiries under the Act. If you are a victim who will approach to, this will give the answer to this. Now, the fifth feature talk about provision for establishing a cyber regulatory appellate tribunal under the Act. Further, this tribunal will handle all appeals made against the order of the controller. Controller here means CCA, Controller of Certifying Authority or adjudicating officer. The sixth feature talks about an appeal against the order of the Cyber Appellate Tribunal, and it is only possible in the High Court of India. Seventh feature talks about digital signature will use an asymmetric crypto system and also a hash function. It is a technical point that we will be discussing in detail. The eighth feature talk about provision of the appointment of certifying authorities and controller of certifying authorities. CCA basically license and regulate the working of CA, that means certifying authority. The controller to act as a repository of all digital signatures in India. Now, the logical part is when to say that Act is applicable to you. It is a matter of common sense that whatever incidents happening in India, the person on IT Act will be applicable on him. But there is a special section also that talks about section 1 subsection 2 along with section 75 specifies that Act is applicable to any offences or contravention committed outside India as well. Inside India is implied, it will be included. If the conduct of a person constituting the offence involves a computer or a computerized system or network located in India, then irrespective of his or her nationality, the person is punishable under the Act. My dear student, I will give you an example. Somebody is sitting in USA and targeting the system in India. Though the person might be of different citizenship, might be of Nepal citizenship, but the person will be punishable in India because the person is intruding with the system in India. But there is a problem. The foreign government must cooperate with Indian government so that we can catch hold of these people. But there is a lot of problem when you talk about international criminal. This is the reality. Now, let me be very much illustrated form. In illustrated form, I will be telling you about the chapterization and Act structure. I have also tabulated on the board so that you can see all the chapters. Let me be introduced in a very few seconds one by one what IT Act is all about. The IT Act has 13 chapters and 90 sections. Chapter 1 deals with short title, extent, commencement and application of the Act in section 1, and section 2 talks about the definition. Chapter 2 deals with the authentication of electronic record, digital signature, electronic signature, etc. Chapter 3 of the Act details about the electronic governance. Chapter 4 of the SAD Act gives a scheme for the regulation of certifying authorities. Chapter 7 of the Act details the scheme of things relating to digital signature certificates. The duties of the subscriber are also enshrined in the Act. Chapter 9 talks about penalties and adjudication of various offences. The Act in Chapter 10 talks of the establishment of Cyber Regulation Appellate Tribunal, which is very important. Chapter 11 talks about various offences, the most important part of the law, which could be investigated only by a police officer not below the rank of DSP. Thereafter, the provision about due diligence, role of intermediaries like ISP and some miscellaneous provisions are being stated, which is highly needed. The Act is embedded with 2 schedules. The first schedule deals with documents or transaction to which the Act shall not apply. The second schedule deals with the electronic signature or electronic authentication technique and procedures. The third and fourth schedule earlier was there, now it has been omitted. My dear students, for your ease, I recommend the website of Ministry of Electronics and Telecommunication. The URL is displayed on the board, and the URL is displayed on the board. You can browse through it. Cybercrime and cases are already covered in the next session. So, this session will be focused on digital signature and authorities. Now, digital signature, why needed, my dear students? The digital signatures are needed to file documents on government portal. For example, if you launch a startup, then to register a company, you need digital signature to file the documents and annual returns to ROC, that means Registrar of Companies. The digital signature, I recommend student to browse the website of ministry's website, which I have displayed on the screen. The digital signatures were introduced for e-governance implementation. The government on this website published digital signature standards to be followed. The website is e-government standards, and this is the ministry's website. Now, let us see the meaning of the digital signature. Digital signature is a process that guarantees that the content of a message have not been altered in transit when you digitally sign a document. While doing this, you add a one-way hash, that means encryption of the message content using your public and private key pair. Section 18 of the IT Act 2000 provides the required legal security to the digital signature based on asymmetric crypto system. The digital signature are now accepted at par with handwritten signature, and the electronic documents that have been digitally signed are treated at par with paper documents. Now, how do digital signature work? I have explained with the help of a diagram also, which you can easily see. I will explain you. It works using a mathematical algorithm called as hash key algorithm. Sign will generate two keys, a public key and a private key. When a signer digitally signs a document, a cryptographic hash is generated for the document. That cryptographic hash is then encrypted using the sender's private key, which is stored on the system. It is then appended to the document and sent to the recipient along with the sender's public key. The recipient to whom the message is being sent can decrypt the encrypted hash with the sender's public key certificate. A cryptographic hash is again generated on the recipient's end. Both cryptographic hashes are compared to check its authenticity. If its value does not match, that means somebody has hacked the message. The document has not been tampered with and is considered valid. It provides authenticity and integrity to the online exchange of document. My dear students, try to relate it with the pictures. You can easily comprehend the things which I technically explained you. Funnily, I made an example. If you are going out of station and you have locked your private room and the garden area which you want to be cleaned by your domestic assistant, you give the keys. So, consider that key is public key, and your personal matter you do not want to touch anything, it is private key. So, whatever permission you allow to go through, the person will read only that much content. Now, the next question arises, how to get digital signature certificates? I recommend students to browse the website of government www.cca.gov.in. It is also displayed on the board for your ease. Whether CCA issue digital signature certificate to any entities, this matter will be resolved in this discussion. The Office of Controller of Certifying Authorities, commonly known as CCA, issues certificate only to CAs, known as certifying authorities. CAs issues digital signature certificate to any entities like us, like common people like us. Now, the question arises, how do I get digital signature certificate? Now, one can approach to any of the licensed CAs for getting a digital signature certificate. The list of licensed CA is available on government site which I have mentioned earlier. Now, talking about CCA and CA, the IT Act provides for the controller of certifying authorities to license and regulate the working of CAs, that is certifying authorities. The CAs issues digital signature certificate for electronic authentication of users. The controller of certifying authority has been appointed by central government under section 17 of the Act for the purpose of IT Act. I have displayed the structure of these authorities, the CA, CCA, so that you can interrelate their powers. The CCA has established the Root Certifying Authority of India under section 18B of IT Act to digitally sign the public keys of certifying authority in the country. The RCI is operated as per the standard laid down the Act. RCI structure is also laid down for your ease, my dear students. The CCA certifies the public keys of CAs using its own private key, which enables user in the cyberspace to verify that a given certificate is issued by a licensed CA. For this purpose, it operates the Root Certifying Authority of India, that is RCAI. The CCA also maintains the repository of digital certificates, which contain all the certificates issued to CAs in this country. A DFD has been made for your understanding to understand this process. Now, how to obtain a license to operate as a certifying authority under IT Act 2000? For operating as a licensed certifying authority under the IT Act 2000, an application has to be made to CCA, that is Controller of Certifying Authorities, as stipulated under section 21 of the IT Act. The application form for grant of license prescribed under Rule 10 of IT Act has to be submitted to CCA. Before submitting the application, however, the applicant is expected to have the entire infrastructure, technical, physical and procedural as well as manpower in place. On receipt of the application and after examination of the same along with the supporting document, CCA will depute an empaneled auditor based on whose audit report a decision will be taken on whether a license has to be given to the applicant or not. Examples of few certifying authorities are TCS, eMudra, SafeScript and NIC, which gives the certificate to the Common Mint digital signature certificate. Now, I am finally coming to the later part, the end part of the discussion today. We will be talking about adjudication authorities. First of all, my dear student, when you need such authorities, when you become a victim of any cyber crime, you need these authorities. So, their role is very important, you should listen to it very nicely. Now, in IT Act 2000, Chapter 9 of the Act contains penalties and adjudication for various offences. The Act also addresses appointment of any officer which should not be less than the rank of a director to the Government of India or an equivalent officer of state government as an adjudicating officer who shall predominantly adjudicate whether any person has made a contravention of any of the provision of the IT Act or not, and rules made thereunder. With giving authority and power, he or she has the power of civil court. Now, let us talk very specific. Section 46 of IT Act 2000 grants central government the power to appoint adjudicating officer and also give power adjudicating officer get an power to hold inquiry to adjudge upon the complaint being filed. Now, question arises, what is the eligibility? The adjudicating officer may be of central government or of the state government and must have field experience with IT and law both. Now, the next thing student you must know is what is the power of adjudicating officer. Now, let me be very clear about it. The adjudicating officer exercise jurisdiction over claim for damages up to ₹5 crore. Now, this is current limit, it may vary when the law changes, and is also vested with certain power of a civil court as per section 46 subsection 5 of the Act. The adjudicating officer may impose penalties for any of the offences described in section 43, 44 and 45 of the Act. My dear student, these Act and examples and case laws will be discussed in the next session in very much detail. Now, where more than one adjudicating officers are appointed, the central government shall specify by order the matters and places with respect to which such officers shall exercise their jurisdiction. Let me give an example to you. For example, Mumbai is a big city and it is a corporate capital of India. In that case, you need more than one adjudicating officer and government will prescribe their territorial jurisdiction. They will clarify Eastern Delhi for whom responsible, Western Delhi for who is responsible. So, they will divide the territory of adjudicating officer in a bigger territory. Now, remember, every adjudicating officer shall have the power of a civil court. This is all about adjudicating officer. Now, we have a higher authority, that is Cyber Appellate Tribunal. In India, the Cyber Appellate Tribunal CYAT is commonly known as, was formed in the year 2006 and located in New Delhi right now. We only have one Cyber Appellate Tribunal as on date 2020. And let us talk about who all are there in Cyber Appellate Tribunal. Let us talk about the composition part. My dear students, initially the tribunal consisted of only one person who was referred to as the presiding officer and who was to be appointed by way of notification by the central government. Thereafter, the Act was amended in the year 2008. As per the amended section, now the tribunal shall consist of a chairperson and such number of other members as the central government may specify by notification in official gazette. The selection of the chairperson and the member of the tribunal is made by central government in consultation with Chief Justice of India. I have also portrayed this structure of Cyber Appellate Tribunal on the board for your understanding. Now, the presiding officer of the tribunal is also known as the chairperson. Now, you must know the qualification. What are the qualifications of becoming a presiding officer? A person for appointment as a presiding officer must be or has been or is qualified to be the judge of a high court. The presiding officer of a Cyber Appellate Tribunal shall hold office for a term of 5 years from the date on which he enters in the office or until he attains the age of 65, whichever is earlier. Now, let us talk about the procedure, the real thing, the appeal to the Cyber Appellate Tribunal. This is governed by section 57. Subject to the provision of subsection 2, a person not satisfied with the controller, here means CCA, okay, or adjudicating officer can appeal to the Cyber Appellate Tribunal. The person filing the appeal must do so within 25 days from the date of receipt of the order from the controller or adjudicating officer against whom you are making the appeal. The appellate try to dispose the appeal finally within the 6 months of receiving it, it is the standard time. Every proceeding before the Cyber Appellate Tribunal is like a judicial proceeding within the meaning of section 193 and 228 and for the purpose of section 196 of Indian Penal Code. Further, the tribunal is like a civil court for the purpose of section 195 and chapter 26 of CRPC 1973. CRPC here means Code of Criminal Procedure. Now, let us talk about appeal to the High Court, which is governed by section 62. Let us say that a person is not satisfied with the decision or order of the tribunal. In such case, he can file an appeal to the High Court, but he must do so within 60 days of receiving the communication or the order or decision from the Cyber Appellate Tribunal. Now, the appeal can be on any fact or law arising out of such an order passed by Cyber Appellate Tribunal. The High Court can extend the period by another 60 days if it feels that the appellant has sufficient cause and reason for the delay. Finally, appellate authority after High Court is Supreme Court of India for everyone. My dear student, in today's session of Cyber Law in India, we explored the basic concept of cyber law and also differentiated cyber law in IT Act 2000. The session clarified the objective, features and illustrated the structure of the Act. E-governance related digital signature and authorities like CCA were explained with great detail. Finally, at concluding part of adjudicating authorities were explained. In the next session on IT Act 2000 along with IT Amendment Act 2008, a detailed session on cybercrime penalties and cases is delivered on SWAYAM module. I also instruct you to browse CCA and Ministry of Information and Telecommunication website. As I shown on the board, I am showing it again for your remembrance for the regular update, and it is the only authentic site, my dear students. If you are looking for authentic information, only refer government site which I have quoted on the presentation and on the screen. My dear student, thank you all and wishing you a happy learning. Thank you so much.